Big news on a possible vaccine yesterday left me wondering, should I invest in Moderna? Let's talk it over. Welcome to Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise, where we talk about little things that can lead to big improvements in our financial and physical health. If these are the things that you're interested in, you'll definitely want to subscribe and become part of our community. Because, after all, it's free, and it'll make sure you don't miss any upcoming videos. So yesterday morning, we all heard the news. Early promising results of a possible vaccine, which came after comments over the weekend by Federal Reserve Chairman Powell stating that there were more tools the Fed could use to support the economy. And the combination of that news led to the broader market soaring to over 3% gains. And then after the market closed, news broke that Moderna was issuing a public offering of 17.6 million shares at $76 per share. And then even more news came out telling us that the administration's vaccine czar had holdings in the company and was planning to divest. This led me to talking with a friend, and we discussed if Moderna made sense as an investment, and I thought this would be a good discussion to have for our growing community. So what do we know about Moderna? Well, if you're like me, you didn't know anything about them until news of their vaccine came out. So I did a little delving into the company's history and financials, and then I considered the early results of the vaccine trial using an evidence-based critical eye and started to come to my own conclusions. The first thing about Moderna is that the company's financial history has not been strong, particularly after the past year when operating revenue went further into the red from the previous year. An analyst grade that came out about 3 weeks ago, obviously before the positive news on the vaccine trial came out, portrayed the company to me as one that had lacking fundamentals. So I looked at the report of another firm and saw a similar picture. Moderna apparently doesn't have a history of selling any profitable drugs. It appears that they have gotten their income mostly from grants and licensing. So a lot of what I found about the company gives me a lot of reason for caution. Now, having said that, the history that they do have shows that working on messenger RNA is what they specialize in, and this has been a focus area in vaccine development efforts throughout the world. So even without a strong history in coming to market with products, this one vaccine, with its potential global impact, could be reason enough to put this company on the map. So the billion-dollar question is this vaccine going to work? Looking at the information of the study release definitely shows some very promising data. Now, as someone that has reviewed clinical study data, I believe there are some things we should keep in mind when looking at the results. One is that this information comes from the company itself versus being independently peer-reviewed. Historically, we know that results that come from any company completing a study on their own product tends to be much more positive than ones that are independently peer-reviewed. Again, in the rush to get a vaccine out as quickly as possible, this is very understandable, but it's something we should consider. A positive of the study shows that all 8 subjects they are reporting on showed development of antibodies without any appreciable side effects based on the lowest effective dosing they are seeing positive results in. The caution I would give you here is the low number of subjects with data. In statistics, this would generally indicate that the study is most likely underpowered. When a study is underpowered, it's likely to miss the real effects of the treatment. Now, there are 37 more subjects in the study that would help in strengthening the statistical power, but we don't have the data for them at this point. The other thing I would note is that the subjects in the study were between the ages of 18 and 55. And what we've been told is that it's mostly the elderly that have the higher negative impact from the virus. And we've also been told that some people, especially those that are younger, may never get any symptoms at all after being exposed to the virus. So is it possible that the 8 people they have data for are just likely to be people that don't show symptoms from the virus? That question shows why it's critical to expand the study to more people before making any definitive statements. So there's a lot to consider. Now again, that doesn't mean that the study is bad or that the vaccine may not work, but it truly emphasizes the point that it is too early to make any concrete solutions. Just a couple of other things I want to comment on. I don't know about you, but hearing that the government's vaccine czar had holdings in the company gives me pause. That doesn't mean anything is wrong, but we've seen how conflicts of interest can lead to problems. Also, the news comes out on the data, which is then followed up with a public offering of shares. Now, obviously, the company may need more resources to move along its efforts to come up with a vaccine and then produce it on a grand scale, but again, it's just the timing that seems a little opportunistic to me. especially when the share value is already up over 300% in the past few months, with much of that coming on yesterday alone. So what do I think? I think any decision to buy into Moderna at this time is more speculative than not. We don't know if the vaccine will continue to show positive results as more subjects are studied. Obviously, if the vaccine is found safe and effective, the fortunes of the company will soar, but even then I do wonder if there will be pressure from the government to keep the costs down so that it can be administered affordably to people around the world, which could obviously put a limit on their profits. The other thing we know is that there are other, bigger entities out there working on their own vaccines, and if one of those also works, there could be a pricing war that the smaller, unproven Moderna may not be able to compete with. I will never tell you what to do with your own money. I trust you to make that decision, and I can't see the future. So the best thing I can tell you is to do your due diligence. But considering the share price and the financial history of the company in some overall context of the situation, I will root for Moderna, but I will do so on the sidelines. If you end up buying stock in a company, I'll root for you too. I will stay closely tuned to the developments of this company, so if you're interested in staying up to date, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you can get my quick updates as I have them. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please hit that like button and share with your friends and family. Let us know in the comments section what you think about Moderna and if you are planning on buying stock in the company. I'm always open to hearing other points of view. As always, I hope that we can all learn from each other on how to take little, easy steps in making big improvements in our lives. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, have a great day.